All right, Mike, what are we doing here?
All right, Joe. What I want to do today is talk about MGM, and I think everyone knows the gist of what happened. All I like to do is talk about what happens when you don't pay the ransomware versus when you do, because Caesars did pay the ransomware, and then I found the response from the FBI interesting as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about today because it's really interesting to me.
You're talking about Scattered Spider when they took down MGM last September.
Exactly. It's a fascinating story because of the scale of MGM and how easily they did it. And I also think it's interesting that it all came down to human nature, and the way that you're going to be able to get into these huge systems is not through do something that's really technical per se. It's more social engineering
Mhm.
because they brought down this huge company. I think the number is 100 million that they lost, MGM, because they went to think about how unsophisticated and efficient this is. They went to LinkedIn, looked up someone that had root access, called support and said, "Hey, I need my username and password." Oh, by the way, he has root access to all the machines on the
Right.
casino floor, everything.
A global Okta admin was, I think, the hit title, which basically opened it up for the entire east of the castle there at MGM.
Yeah, just think about all the resources that MGM has, and that one little detail. Why did they give him this fancy title on LinkedIn? Might as well say compromise me.
Right. Yeah, and what's interesting is I was listening to some other pods and YouTube videos on this, and they said that Scattered Spider's original idea was to hack into the slot machines
Hmm.
and make it so everybody won over and over again and like, hire people to like, collect the money. But then that was too complicated, so they didn't. They decided to just like use social engineering to get in and talk to, you know, the help desk. And so Scattered Spider is uniquely equipped to be social engineers. Uh, did you see that? Like they're all English, UK residents and American residents, all these hackers.
I did, and quite honestly, that would probably get me because the person calls up, and we all kind of sound the same, especially in text based, kind of speak monotone. It's like, "Hey, Joe, this is Mike. I can't get into the data center. I forgot my badge. Hey, I need to log in, to get my stuff so I can do my job." And I sound just like I'm talking to you. We pretty much sound like everyone. So like, all right, here you go.
They are in tech. They sound like
Yeah, they're in tech. They talk the language. I mean, how many Mike, Joe, Steve, Daves are in tech? They sound like me. And then the guy on the other side is just gonna say, "All right, here you go, Mike." And he probably had in his own mind who it was, and he probably worked with the guy. And whoever called in probably sounded just like the guy that who they compromised. And that's how they were able to get in.
Mhm.
It all comes down to the humans.
Right, right. I wonder if they've tightened up that system now where they've either asked more questions, find more data points to confirm people, or if they're just like they've gone to a token system where you have to have like a physical device to match up with getting in, and they've locked everything down now. Because they could have asked some additional questions. Usually hackers can get a hold of like, your address, your social, your mother's maiden name, even sometimes your questions, but like, you could ask other questions like your boss, who do you report to? You could maybe look at their calendar and say, like, where were you last Wednesday? Um,
That is a really good point because it's like, "Hey, I got your calendar up. Can you tell me where you were last Wednesday? Who did you have dinner with?" Because I'm looking right at your calendar. What you could hear is, "Nah," they would just hang up.
and I wonder if they got this on the first try and they were lucky, or if they called this helpline multiple times in order to finally break through a brute force human social engineering type deal.
I'm inclined to bet they had to call in a bunch of times. And then all it takes is one time. It's like a DDoS attack. Eventually, you're just going to shut everything down. You're going to get in. And it also makes me wonder, what's to stop someone from doing this to Ford? What's someone stop someone doing this to Chrysler? And then I look at the electrical. I tend to get paranoid, but like we're in San Diego, so what would happen if I call SDG&E and say, "Hey, this is whoever's the name is on LinkedIn. I don't know his name.
Right.
and I can't get into my computer here. Next thing, you shut down the whole city, and they could, because this stuff is all connected, and the whole protocol TCP/IP was created back in the 70s. It wasn't meant for what we've done with it so far. So that's something that concerns me.
Yeah, and there's a whole cottage industry of social engineering pen testers now. There was this on Darknet Diaries. There was this girl that started a company for pen testing for social engineering.
That's fascinating. As soon as we're
Yeah.
off this, I'm going to go out there and look it up.
She went to DEF CON with her husband, and she was just a person just walking around, and they happened to have this contest, and she got like in place out of like 60 people, and she'd never done any social engineering training before. She's like, oh, well, maybe I'm pretty good at this. She got calls by all these firms and everything to get hired, and she's like, now I'm in cybersecurity. So kind of interesting how social engineering has become its own pen testing industry. So it's like she would call and she would see how much data she could get about the person, their bank account. She was testing banks in this example, and they were like, no, we can't get in. You're not going to be able to get anything. We have all these things. So she actually did a live hack on 60 Minutes where she lacked this person's secretary that was in the room next door. It was crazy. So
I gotta see that.
he does a lot of she did a lot of research, and these guys probably did too on this guy. Maybe he has videos on LinkedIn too where they can spoof their voice too. It's just like with AI, you can even spoof voices now. So it's getting harder and harder to tell who's who on these. So going back to paying the ransom or not paying the ransom, what do you think they should have done?
Pay the ransom. And I know Caesars has this uncertainty about that data being compromised, but it did not stop the workflow. They were able to keep on running their casinos. Where MGM, it was a shit show.
Mhm.
You see the pictures where they literally had all the machines shut down, and the number of people are throwing out there is 70 million a day, which I believe, because I go into casinos, people are just shoving money into the machines.
Yeah.
And they would have just paid the ransom, and then it was me. I would pay the ransom, and then like a post-mortem. I would do a post-mortem with law enforcement and security experts, find out how they got in, and then they can link it to the one person that they compromised, but at least they would have a paper trail, so to speak.
Mhm.
And you're not going to get your money back. And it was a lot of money. It was 15 million in Bitcoin. That said, it's a lot better than 70 million, and it's lesson learned. I think what they did is from this is my understanding, obviously you don't know what's released in the press. They had attorneys in the war room, they had cybersecurity experts who thought they had everything locked down when they truly didn't. Then they had executives for MGM and made that decision, hey, let's not pay the ransom. Once they made that decision, boom, that's when the attack really happened. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but better off just, in my perspective, to pay the ransomware and do a postmortem. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, going on your media stuff that was on TV and social media, it was a heyday where TikTok, Instagram was like dumping on MGM brand. They had blue screens of death on all the machines. People weren't, able to do anything. They were there on vacation. They weren't able to have fun or have the Vegas experience. So I think it had a bad taste in the mouth of the people there, and the people had it on social media. And that's kind of the part of cyber crime you don't really think about is the reputation of the company. And it's hard to, you this reputation over years and years and years, and you can lose, a lot in a day. So and I hate it, and I don't want to encourage these hackers, but from a person's perspective, I'm going to look at like how long it's going to take me to rebuild my system versus how long it's going to take, for that to give me control back of my system. And I'm going to make a business decision there, and not get philosophical about it.
I agree. So Kenny Rogers, you gotta know when to fold them. When to hold them. And in this case, MGM should have known when to fold them.
And Caesars, their stock price Speaking went down significantly. I think it went from like 61 to like 46 or something, just for
Ouch.
Caesars. And they paid. And then MGM, I think it like went down like third of what it was. So that was not good for Wall Street on that day. So, and they already had some issues with like Chinese regulation. And so, MGM is not good for MGM for sure.
No, not at all. And then I think from perspective too is a lot of times these big companies have internal IT departments, and they should hire consultants, and they should have hire outsourcing or outsource companies to do pen testing, to do DR, to have red team, blue team test, because that way you have more certainty. You never just want to believe your own bullshit. And you never want to just, hey, this guy is smart. I'm gonna believe has, and you do see that a lot in tech, where someone is smart, but you have to think, okay, like a computer, like when computers thinking statements, you have to think in conditional statements, and you have to be contrarian, even if it goes against social norms. Like, oh, this guy is so smart, he's got to be right. We should be secure. Is it true? All right, let's pick up the phone and call the IT department. And when the guy on the other end, the $15 an hour guy that's working in the knock lets you in, it's like, no, he's full of shit. Now I have proof. It's if and not very sophisticated, but boy, it can give you root access to everything.
Small scale too, like business owners are like, oh, it's not going to happen to me. And I can like literally go onto darknet and, find their credentials pretty easily and show it to them. We got it right here. This is like, is it password? And they're going to be like, yeah, or expecting a hack. That's when they're in the most trouble, because it's easier to engineer. It's definitely a decision on whether to pay or not. But, it's once you're hacked, they're already in. And in this case, the guy had been in there for, I think, like 10 days. So they're in control of like everything by the time they got it. So,
Yeah, it's more of a Trojan horse scenario nowadays. Back in the day, they would attack your website and use DNS to switch it to a porn site, which was absolutely hilarious. But now they don't do that. They're obviously more sophisticated, and they hang out for a while and get all the credentials, and then threaten you with ransomware.
right.
I mean, back in the day, pretty funny. Like, I can't think. The first one comes to mind is CNN, but I don't think that's true. But I do remember when people first started hacking websites, that's the first thing you do was change DNS, and good times. I think consulting side, and then the testing from internal IT departments where they do the phishing and the phishing test. Those are really important. One of the challenges that I've seen is employees don't want to report oh shit moments to security because of the social stigma is like, oh, I'm an idiot. And quite frankly, I've done that. Like, I had one where they sent me from HR, everything looked legit. I filled it out, and then I looked at the domain and went, oh shit. And then I contacted my department. Fortunately, I didn't give the HR to social or what have you.
Mhm.
But if they asked for it, I probably would have, because they had the same branding from the company and everything.
Right.
So they are getting sophisticated. But all that to say is the fact that I called my security department, they blocked the person so they didn't send other emails. Because if they sent it to me, I'm sure that if it's a large company, they would send it to other people as well.
Yeah, I mean, be very sophisticated. They can, I mean, this is off shelf, Black Cat, ransomware as a service stuff that they got MGM with. The level of knowledge that you need is much lower than it used to be, and the money that you can make is much higher. So it's kind of like if you're a criminal, it's not that hard to get into being a cyber criminal. I guess that's what I'm saying.
It's true. And I kind of want to tell you what we talked about a little bit earlier is like the FBI is like, they said they don't have enough people. I mean, this is a hack. They said publicly on the right, they knew some of the people that were involved with the group that did the attack. I mean, couldn't they monitor them? And how come there hasn't been any recourse after the attack?
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Like, where is Scattered Spider now? It seems like they're still at large. And for a high profile hack like this one, plus Caesars, a handful of other ones that they've done, seems like they would be on the top list.
Yeah, you would think you'd be able to get them because these organizations like the FBI, the NSA, they've got to be able to see everything because they see the traffic that goes through the telcos, they see data centers. Um, they always don't have enough people. Well, it didn't take too many people to take down MGM and Caesar. I mean, there were 10 or 12 people.
Yeah.
I mean, so confused decisions that law enforcement takes. My gut reaction is like, do they just not give a shit? I mean, are they trying hard enough? I don't know. But I don't know what they know, quite frankly. So I think that'd be a better answer.
And I think these guys are just like really good, and they are operating at the NSA and the CIA and or FBI are watching and listening, and they are so sophisticated that they can get away with it anyway. They're just using so many layers and not covering really well. So they're just have clues for them. Maybe they haven't made that one.
Yeah.
Usually
That's what
like, one thing that they did that back to like an email that back to an IP address where they can actually like locate one of the guys and then they get that guy to turn on everybody else. I guess they haven't gotten to that yet, or they don't.
it's just
Or
it's
they're
quite because I just having a hard time believing that they're more sophisticated than the NSA. I'm just not buying that. That's why I get kind of stuck because it just not enough sense of urgency to catch these people. Because I couldn't imagine getting on a computer and say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna nab peas, and the NSA will never find me." Mike Dowdy in San Diego.
right.
I'd be like, "Fuck you, Mike! Got you within a millisecond." So
Yeah.
that's what gets me. Maybe they want to find. I can speculate on this forever because I'm kind of a paranoid person. Is like maybe these three-letter agencies will follow them and then get the whole group as opposed to one guy. But there's the old adage of there's no honor among thieves is very true. Once they get one of the guys, guarantee he would disclose who else was involved, if he even knows who they are.
Right.
Because the biggest challenge is if you have a lone wolf, say that lone wolf is, with the in that guild, so to speak, kind of talk with you, but he doesn't know who they are.
Right. Yeah.
Like, did you ever World of Warcraft back
Yeah.
in the day?
Yeah.
You didn't know who any of those people were.
No.
So you could, it's like World of War, it's MGM and Caesars. Let's say someone does a raid, they get you, you're at your house, and it's like, okay, we're going to get in your guild. Look, I don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go get Joe XYZ at STC? It's not even a human.
Yeah, and they are scattered spider. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like their thing, but scattered. And they seem sophisticated. What happens is they get cocky and bite off a little bit more than they can chew. And they have to do one last job,
Yeah, rush. Like, and it also reminds me, like, we go way to the genesis of all this. It's like when Kevin Mitnick was hacking phones. I mean, he was using social engineering to hack phones to make free long distance calls. That was actually pre-internet, but that same mentality or that same weak link still exists.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's the really original convent.
and people's, trying to help people for a long time. So
Beginning of time.
it's definitely something that these guys will take advantage of if they have to. I mean, just look at like when you're trying to get into somewhere, you ask to hold the door for you. If that's a restricted area, you really should door like slam in your face and have you
Exactly.
got your fob and you do it. But most people will hold the door.
Oh, they will.
Especially if it's like they're acting like they're a pregnant lady or something, just they work there. Maybe.
Oh, you know who if it is any hot woman on the planet could walk up to a data center and say, "I forgot my badge." That would be a great social experiment. And they would the tech guys would, "Oh yeah, like this is pure platinum." They'd let them in, boom, they're in the data center. So I guarantee that'd be the easiest way.
I'm sure.
I'm trying to think of like switch data center as DOD. That would be a great social experiment. Just have like a hot chick up and say, "Oh, I work for DOD, but I forgot my ID." Like all the way to the servers.
We can do our own research on that.
Yeah, we got to do that. I'm sure my wife would love that. Why were you at Pure Platinum? Well, I'm going to be doing some research, babe. They're going to send them over to the data center, see if they can get in.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's everything. Do you have anything else on this one?
Let's see. We talked Caesars, MGM. No, this is fun. I like this, especially when we come up with our master plan of incorporating strippers into hacking DoD facilities.
Yeah, we definitely have that.
We're gonna get on the news.
Yeah, the next gonna be on strip clubs, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do our own search.
Scene from The Big Short where the guy's he's sitting there asking him about all these loans. It's like, what? And the loan officers were like giving all these loans to strippers at like 500 grand a pop. That would be the same thing with cybersecurity.
Right, right. That's so funny. Cool. Well, make sure you follow us, like and subscribe, all that stuff. We are the Ransomware Rewind podcast. Anything to close out, Mike?
Yes. We're going to be covering ransomware, obviously hacks and events and what transpired. If you have any ideas or ransomware attacks that you would like us to cover, please send us a message.
Awesome. Great. That'll be in the show notes, and we will see you guys soon.
Take care.